Most people who hike the Appalachian Trail come back with sore legs and good memories. But some come back with something else, a story they don't tell at dinner parties, a memory that sits wrong, something they saw on a trail that they've spent years trying to convince themselves had a normal explanation. And a few do not come back at all. I have spent months collecting these accounts, and what strikes me every single time is the same detail across all of them. The moment where the hiker realizes that what they are dealing with does not follow the rules. Not the rules of wildlife, not the rules of other people on a trail. Something else entirely. These are 4 of those accounts. And by the time you finish this video, I think you will understand why certain sections of the Appalachians have been considered dangerous. Not just wild, not just remote, but genuinely dangerous, for longer than this country has had a name. If you are new here, subscribe. Before we go further, this is what we do every week. And drop a comment telling me what city or country you are watching from. I want to know how far these stories are reaching. Because the people who sent me these accounts, they came from places you would not expect. Let us start in Tennessee. October 2019. A solo hiker, I'll call him Marcus, is 3 days into a section hike near the North Carolina border. 15 years of backcountry experience. The kind of person who doesn't get spooked. The kind of person who, when he tells you something shook him, you listen. On the 3rd day, he takes a side trail. Faint on the map. Overgrown. The kind of path that feels like it stopped being maintained a long time ago for reasons nobody wrote down. The further in he goes, the more the forest changes around him. The sounds drop away first. The birds, the wind, the small movements in the underbrush that you stop noticing until they're gone. What's left is a quiet that has weight to it. A quiet that feels like attention. Then, from somewhere ahead, he hears singing. Women's voices, coming from the direction the trail is leading him, harmonizing in a way that's almost right, almost the kind of thing you'd be glad to stumble across on a long solo hike, except for the underneath of it. The frequency that sits just below the melody, that the ear catches before the brain does, that tells you without words that something here is not what it seems. He stops walking, calls out. The singing stops. The silence that follows is total, not the natural silence of a forest at rest, the silence of everything pausing at once in response to him. Then movement, from all directions through the trees, not rushing, slow, measured, coordinated, like whatever was out there had a system and had just put it into motion. Marcus ran. He'll tell you he's not proud of it, but he ran, and he didn't look back. And when the singing started again behind him, it had changed into something he doesn't have a clean word for. Not music anymore, something that felt aimed. He reached the main trail, kept moving until his body gave out, looked back. Nothing. Forest. Birdsong re-entering the world like a recording resuming. That night, he asked the ranger about the side trail, about what might be back there. The ranger said the trail was a dead end, said nobody went out that way, said there was nothing out there. Marcus didn't argue, but he's thought about that conversation every day since. The second account comes from Virginia, spring of 2016. A woman, Jennifer, 3 weeks into a through hike with her closest friend. The kind of trip that becomes a story you tell for the rest of your life. For Jennifer, it did. Just not the story she expected. They camped in a forest clearing one night. Tents pitched, fire finished, other hikers nearby at a shelter down the path. Ordinary night. The kind you stop remembering because nothing happens. Except something happened. Jennifer woke up past midnight to the sound of movement outside. Quick footsteps through dry leaves. The sound of something approaching with purpose. She looked out through the gap in her tent. There was a figure on the trail. She told me it's hard to describe why she knew immediately that something was wrong, because it wasn't one thing. It was the total impression of it, the way it occupied space, the way the dark around it seemed slightly different from the dark everywhere else. It had the general shape of a person, the suggestion of a person, but the closer she looked, the more that impression fell apart, like a word you stare at until it stops looking like a word. It moved oddly, not injured, not drunk, just wrong in a way that the eye struggled to process. Like it existed in the same space as the clearing, but not quite on the same terms. It stopped between her tent and her friends. And then it just waited, standing there, facing the tents, in absolute stillness, for what Jennifer estimates was close to a minute. No sound, no movement, just a presence in the clearing that should not have been there, doing nothing, as if waiting for something to happen or deciding whether to make something happen. Then it left. Down the trail, the same strange movement, and then the dark was just dark again. Jennifer lay in her tent until sunrise. She never woke her friend. She never filed a report. She told me she didn't know what she would have written down. Now, I want to give you some context for why accounts like these keep coming out of the Appalachians specifically, because it's not random. These are the oldest mountains on Earth, not just in North America, among the oldest on the planet, close to 500 million years. Whatever these mountains were before the first human being ever set foot on them, they've been that thing for an almost incomprehensible stretch of time. The Cherokee nations who lived in these ranges for thousands of years were specific about certain places. Not vaguely superstitious, specific. Certain ridgelines, certain hollows, certain stretches of forest where the land behaved differently and where their histories recorded things that were encountered repeatedly across generations. They treated those places with deliberate, careful respect. Not fear exactly, knowledge. The knowledge that some places have terms, and you should understand the terms before you enter. The settlers who followed wrote it differently. Land deeds from the 1800s, legal documents, describe parcels of Appalachian ridgeline as unsuitable for habitation. Not because of flooding or poor soil or difficult terrain. The language used is careful, but the meaning is consistent across records from completely different counties and different decades. People did not stay on those ridgelines. Something made them leave. Those ridgelines still exist. The trail passes through some of them. There are sections where experienced hikers describe a shift, subtle but real, in how the forest feels the moment you enter, where the urge to turn around arrives without explanation and without warning, the way the body sometimes knows something before the mind catches up. Marcus's trail is in one of those sections. So is the clearing where Jennifer spent the longest night of her life. I don't think that's a coincidence. I don't think the people who have been warning about these specific places, across cultures, across centuries, were all wrong. I think some parts of these mountains have always had rules, and I think the ones who find that out the hard way are the ones who didn't know to look for them. If you've been in the Appalachians, if something happened to you out there that you've never been able to fully explain, I want to hear about it. Drop it in the comments. You don't have to use your real name. And subscribe, because next week we're covering a stretch of trail that park rangers have been quietly avoiding for over a decade. We have the incident reports, we have the accounts, and we have a pattern that nobody in an official capacity has been willing to talk about publicly. That video goes up next week. Don't miss it.